Some of us might remember the story of Nigeria Airways. Perhaps you even flew with it during its peak days. For me as a child, it gave me some sort of pride to see Nigerian Airways fly the skies. Nigeria Airways was the biggest airline in Nigeria and had its heyday in the 1980s. However, it ceased operations in 2003. Welcome to Destinations. Today on the program, we will be looking at the story behind the new Nigeria national carrier, Nigeria Air. However, we cannot talk about the present without talking about the past. So before we go ahead, we will take a short break, after which we will take you back in the days, giving you a brief history of Nigeria Air Carrier.
Nigeria Airways Company was founded in 1958 after the dissolution of West African Airways Corporation. It held the name West African Airways Corporation Nigeria until 1971, when it was rebranded to the name it had until it ceased operations in 2003. The government of Nigeria owned a majority of the airline, 51%, until 1961, when it boosted its shareholding in the company to 100% and made it the country's flag carrier. The airline had its base at Airways House in Abuja and concentrated most of its activity out of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, serving passengers for domestic and international flights in West Africa. The network also had points in Europe, North America and Saudi Arabia. The airline was managed by a number of foreign companies including British Airways, KLM and South African Airways. At that time, its fleet consisted of about 30 aircraft, but the carrier was 2 years behind with its account, to the extent that the aircraft were acquired for cash. Owned or leased, the carrier operated a variety of aircraft during its history, including the Vickers VC-10, the Airbus A310, and Boeing 737 and Boeing 747, and the McDonnell Douglas DC-10, of which it flew the last one ever built. Through years of mismanagement and owing billions in unpaid debt, Nigeria Airways was formally succeeded by Virgin Nigeria, and its ground facilities were taken over by Arik Air. Before Nigeria Airways ceased operations, it flew to 4 domestic destinations, namely Abuja, Kano, Lagos and Port Harcourt, while its international destinations included Abidjan, Dubai, Jeddah, London and New York. After Nigeria Airways ceased operations and became Virgin Nigeria Airways, Virgin Nigeria became the flagship carrier for the country. It had routes around Nigeria and West Africa, as well as London and Saudi Arabia. Between the years 2008 to 2010, however, Virgin withdrew from the company and it became Air Nigeria. In 2012, it suffered the same fate as Nigeria Airways, and Nigeria Air also ceased operations.
It has been a decade since the airline story ended, and so this look at the past brings us to our takeoff point on today's episode, which is a look at the journey of Nigeria Air. No doubt Nigeria's aviation scene has experienced quite a roller coaster. It is sad that the Nigerian Airways, which was a source of pride to many before its demise, has gone with the wings. However, with the coming on board of the Buhari administration, it renewed hopes of many Nigerians with the attention it accorded the aviation sector.
In 2015, when the Buhari administration came into power, the president appointed an aviator, which many stakeholders felt was a welcome development. The then Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, in 2016 initiated and unveiled the aviation roadmap agenda with deliverables like a new national carrier, concession of airports, maintenance, repair and overhaul facility, aircraft leasing company, and creation of a metropolis at major airports. Nigeria Air became the new proposed airline that will be the flagship carrier for Nigeria. The airline was funded in July 2018 and the logo and name were unveiled at the ceremony in Farnborough Air Show in United Kingdom. Many Nigerians had criticized the Buhari administration for seeking to start a new national carrier after the former carrier, Nigeria Airways, collapsed largely due to corruption. The project was suspended 2 months after it was announced as critics raised concerns over its relevance and sustainability. However, in September 2022, a consortium led by Ethiopian Airlines were chosen as the preferred bidder for the national carrier. Ethiopian Airlines were to own 49% in the new airline, while Emirates, SACO, and the Nigerian Sovereign Fund would take 46%, while the federal government takes the remaining 5%. The then minister explained that the request for proposal under the Public-Private Partnership (PPP) Act, governed by Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission (ICRC), regarding the Nigeria Air had been completed. This led to the suit filed by local airline operators in the country under the name Airline Operators of Nigeria (AON), who were against Nigeria Air being managed by a foreign airline. Nigeria's former Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, had insisted at different times that the national carrier, Nigeria Air, despite reservations by many, will commence operations.
People I've seen on media are saying that we've been talking about roadmap, but not a simple one has been ticked. So please, you would see by the end of this presentation, we've achieved about 90%, which I'm very proud of, and I thank God and my team and you, the stakeholders, for support. And the MRO, so in the whole of the continent of Africa, MRO is well, a small maintenance shed can be called an MRO. That's fine. But the kind of MRO that we envisage to establish through a private sector is the one that has the capacity to take in all kinds of aircraft, multiple aisle, wide body, high capacity airplanes of the current generation, of the current technology. And in the whole of the continent of Africa, we have one in Morocco, Royal Air Morocco, which is serving Air France largely. We have one in Egypt. Egypt are on their way to making 200 aircraft mark and is serving Egypt Air. Then the Ethiopian one, which is largely Ethiopian, you can hardly find a slot to take your engine in Africa or take your aircraft. So your aircraft has to be on ground, or your engine has to be on ground, and your operations will suffer. It will suffer because you don't have a slot. So we try to put one here in Nigeria. I'm happy to report the full business case has been completed and certificate of compliance issued by ICRC. It was also approved by FEC, and we are commencing. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is also another tick item.
In the last hours of the Buhari administration, after one of its last weekly meetings of the Federal Executive Council, Senator Hadi Sirika said the regulatory approval to get the national carrier flying is at the final stage, insisting that before May 29, which is the date of the expiration of the Buhari administration, the airline will be operational.
Regarding Nigeria Air, yes, we are on course. We're on course. And by the grace of God, before Mr. Buhari, President Buhari leaves office, it will fly. We're on course, we're on course, we're on course, and before May 29th, Nigeria Air will fly. Thank you very much.
The Airline Operators of Nigeria, AON, who had kicked against the planned commencement of Nigeria Air before May 29 inauguration, had earlier sued the federal government, seeking the court to stop the new national carrier as it would get unfair advantages over other airlines. In November 2022, a federal high court in Lagos had issued an order of interim injunction restraining the Nigerian government from proceeding with the establishment of its proposed national carrier. Notwithstanding, with just few days left to the expiration of the Buhari administration, and despite the subsistent court order, the Buhari administration was determined to fulfill its promise of delivering a national carrier. It went ahead to unveil the new national carrier on 26th of May, 2023.
This is the long-awaited Nigerian Air, which Senator Hadi Sirika promised will arrive before May 29th. Most Nigerians did not believe him when he said so, but today, I guess he has proved the doubting Thomases wrong, as the aircraft is here.
Indeed, there were uncertainties about the arrival of the plane. However, the Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, fulfilled his promise of delivering the plane before the end of the Buhari administration. Senator Sirika, who unveiled the aircraft, expressed excitement that he was able to achieve this feat, being part of the aviation roadmap, which the minister says its implementation has been achieved 100%. The minister also appreciated President Muhammadu Buhari for providing all needed support. After leading a media tour around the aircraft, he explained that Ethiopian Airlines were chosen as the preferred bidder because of their experience, which has lasted over 70 years.
We started in 2016 and it ended up today. There's a history, a lot behind all of this. There are challenges, down to one for that matter. We didn't allow them to make us lose focus. We stayed with the eyes on the ball, and today we're here. Sorry. We pray that may it be good for our country, for its people, its future, its fortune, and for humanity. Yes.
Reacting on the subsisting court order blocking the takeoff of the new national carrier, Senator Sirika said those aggrieved are free to also partner with foreign investors, saying, as a minister, he gave domestic airline operators all the needed support.
Under our time, during Muhammadu Buhari's time, we doubled the number of airlines and doubled the number of aircraft in Nigeria and the country. We gave everybody level playing field. There is not a single request from any airline that I turned down since I became minister.
On the continuity of the project by the incoming administration, he assured that the project will not be abandoned, saying the incoming government is also on the same page with the outgoing. Stakeholders in the aviation sector also gave kudos to the Buhari administration for making the Nigerian air dream a reality despite some challenges.
I want to assure you that this is the beginning of good things to come to the aviation sector. And for our partners, rest assured you are in good hands. And we hope together we'll make the Nigerian aviation industry a hub in Africa.
So the resources that we have available at the ICRC as well as the federal ministry, and of course the kind of partners that we've been able to attract for this particular project, we had no doubt that it was going to happen.
We are a regulatory agency. We are how to give support all through the processes, and we have reviewed it. We found it bankable. There are still one or two issues, but hopefully we'll be able to cross all the T's and dot our I's.
On here today, so it's been a very long one. It brings also excitement to everyone that has been involved in the project in one way or the other.
The Chief Commercial Officer of the Ethiopian Airlines, Lema Gudeta, assured Nigerians of efficiency in the service delivery when Nigeria Air fully commences operation. Nigeria Air's ownership structure comprises Ethiopian Airlines and Nigerian private investors with 95% stake and the federal government 5%. With the unveiling of just one in the Nigerian air fleet among the about 35 expected, the aviation minister Hadi Sirika said the arrival of the airplane signals the beginning of a national carrier that will be beneficial to all stakeholders and Nigerians in general. Now in place of the defunct Nigerian Airways, a sign of better days ahead.
Now, just a few days after that report, a lot of Nigerians were thrown into disbelief and disappointment. In a twist, the 9th National Assembly Committee on Aviation, at the tail end of its tenure, inducted the former Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, as well as the Ministry of Aviation and its partners, calling the whole process that birthed the Nigerian Air a fraud, and also called for the suspension of the process.
The National Assembly Committee on Aviation had invited the Ministry of Aviation and its partners to explain why it hurriedly unveils the national carrier when it had just a few hours to go. The interim managing director for Nigeria Air, Captain Dapo Lumide, had, while responding to questions, said the aircraft was a chartered plane.
Fellow AON members and gentlemen of the press, the aircraft was a charter flight. Of course, as charter flights, you can paint the aircraft in any colors you want. If you're going to go for a destination wedding and you're chartering the aircraft to take your guests to Accra for the wedding, if you pay, you can have the aircraft painted, the tail with your wife's picture or whatever you want. It doesn't matter because it's a charter flight.
So this is a drama, really, not a serious business.
So
we can understand.
So you see, when the aircraft on a charter flight, the aircraft was to come to Nigeria, to Abuja, and go back 48 hours later. It was, I'm not going to discuss the unveiling because we've discussed all of that extensively, but it has nothing to do with the launch of the airline. We have a 5-phase process to go through with the regulator. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, Phase 4, Phase 5. After Phase 5, at Phase 5, you'll get your AOC certificate. Until then, you don't have an airline. So we're in the 5-phase process of getting the airline. So this is not an AOC process. This is not the launch of the airline. We're not selling tickets. None of the above. Thank you.
Limited, it's a limited liability company. And for us to have a national carrier, it's going to a partnership with some local and international investors. And that's where the process of betting the Nigerian Air came in. And ICRC is fully involved, and there are processes to this. And one of the processes is outline business case, which has been approved. And we move forward to ensure that we have what you call a full business case, which will involve all the shareholder issues, negotiations, and what have you. And we're in the process. We have not gotten an AOC for there to be a launching of Nigerian Air. But the processes are on, and the interim MD can throw more light on the processes to getting AOC.
Okay, please, can we hear from Sako?
Append their signature to.
Are you serious?
Yes, there are some issues there we need to bring out because we may not have this platform again. As a stakeholder, yes.
And you're part of the shareholders?
Yes, we did not even know about the static or airborne display.
Huh?
We saw it in the newspapers and social media.
Nobody?
No.
Nobody consulted you?
No. So I'm a bit surprised that the PAMSEC is attempting to whitewash this thing. It's a very
this is Sako. They are part of the shareholders, and they are not even aware of this transaction.
We had an approval, and we granted the aircraft a flight permit. It was meant to be a charter flight. Yes, thank you. From Ethiopia to Nigeria. Yes. But yes. Yes, it was a charter flight. I'm not aware of that, but we issued a flight. We issued an approval for it.
The National Assembly Committee had denied knowledge of the process that led to the unveiling of the Nigerian Air and called for its suspension.
We want to put on record that the committee and indeed the National Assembly had no role in the purported launch of Nigeria Air or anything related thereof. We as a committee will not accept any attempt by any individual or group of individuals or organizations to hide under the project Nigerian Air and siphon our commonwealth. Consequently, the committee hereby resolved to 1. Direct the Federal Ministry of Aviation and its partners in the Nigerian Air project to immediately suspend any operation regarding to Nigerian Air and every other action with respect to Nigerian Air. 2. Urge our new president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, the president and commander-in-chief, to, as a matter of urgency, constitute a high-level presidential committee to undertake a holistic review of the processes of the whole Nigerian Air project and advise the government on the way forward. Ensure that all individuals or groups or organizations involved in the controversial Nigerian Air takeoff are brought to book, prosecuted and sanctioned.
What is most interesting, however, is that after the whole saga, the former Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, while responding to questions on a TV program just a few days after the National Assembly Committee accusation, had he himself accused the House Committee Chairman, Mr. Nnolim, of asking for 5% stake equity in the Nigerian Air project.
That is the story of the Nigerian Air for now. However, while some are of the opinion that the whole process was a charade, others believe that the main goal will be to have a national carrier or even a flag carrier to call our own. Historically, airlines have been regarded as important national symbols, and they have been used by government as chosen instruments for projecting their countries internationally. If you are optimistic like I am, no matter what happens at the end of the day, it is hoped that someday soon we will look up in the skies to see Nigerian colors fly the skies just like the good old days of Nigeria Airways. That's Destinations for today. Don't forget, as usual, if you want us to feature your destination on our program, you can reach out to us. And again, we are open for sponsorship. Thanks for watching Destinations. I am Zara Mohammed.